Good morning, everyone. My name is Carla Maria Lopez Soto, and the topic of this presentation is Values in Education for Sustainable Development and Analysis through Non-Governmental Organizations, NGOs. Welcome to this presentation for Introduction to Sustainable Development course of the Sustainability Graduate Program at the University of Sonora. First of all, I'm going to explain what ISD is. Commonly mentioned by its acronym, Education for Sustainable Development is understood as education that encourages changes in knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to enable a more sustainable and just society for all. ESD aims to empower and equip current and future generations to meet their needs using a balanced and integrated approach to the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. ESD is fundamentally about values, particularly respect for others, including those of present and future generations, for difference and diversity, for the environment and for the planet's resources, along with a sense of justice, responsibility, exploration, and dialogue. ESD aims to move us toward adopting behaviors and practices which will enable us all to live a full life without being deprived of basic human needs. At this section of the presentation, I'm going to explain what are NGOs and some of their main purposes. I will read some of the meanings that I collected from dictionaries and other sources. Well, NGO is the abbreviation for non-governmental organization. An organization that tries to achieve social or political aims, but is not controlled by government. Another meaning is the non-profit groups concerned with social justice and/or environmental protection. And the last one is NGOs are self-created social groups that unite people in a shared mission. So in general, we can say NGOs are about direct action, which may be political, religious, social, environmental, etc. Main purposes of NGOs are further the political or social goals of their members, improving the state of the natural environment, encouraging the observance of human rights, improving the welfare and the disadvantages, representing a corporate agenda, and last but not least, as we are talking about education for sustainable development, a purpose related to this is boosting educational transformation aimed at involving ourselves, our communities, and nations in creating equitable and sustainable. Experts in ESD analyzed environmental NGOs cases of study and determined that NGOs are most famous for their action-taking and work against destructive developments, such as Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, and Sierra Club. However, the work of these NGOs may be overshadowed by the NGOs that work in less media, headlining ways, and on the harder, slower tasks of environmental conservation, education, and reconstruction. Many NGOs like Belize's Green Reef try to wave action research and formal education programs into a consciousness-raising, ultimately policy-changing wholeness. Many NGOs seek to involve the community and sometimes in outsiders, often students in programs that try to empower communities to take control and management of their own habitats. Some like Coral K and Earthwatch try to involve the community and policy makers in applied research, arguing that problem-solving research is the best way to awaken participants to a holistic appreciation of the characteristics and dimensions of an environmental and sustainability challenge. Sustainable development must be integrated into education, and education must be integrated into sustainable development. Education for sustainable development into the community should be a lifelong process and not one restricted to a learner's years in school. Later in the presentation, we will see the example of the campaign the world's largest lesson, where we can observe the entire education sector involved. In this photo, you can see the UK Secretary of State for Education, Damian Hinds, MP, taking part in the world's largest lesson September 2018. Trends in ISD involving NGOs. A new set of global goals have been agreed for the development of the world to 2030. Education has its own dedicated goal number 4, which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Within Goal 4 is the target 4.7 by 2030 to ensure all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of cultural contribution to sustainable development. Before moving directly to the conclusion, I would like to show you this campaign. World's Largest Lesson is an initiative from Project Everyone, delivered in partnership with UNICEF and many other organizations to bring the global goals to children across the world. Launched in 2015, schools in over 130 countries have annually engaged millions of children in the campaign and encouraged action for the goals. Through strong partnerships with ministries of education and other government departments, UN agencies, NGOs, the education private sector, youth organization, and the global teachers community, this campaign encourages active participation in global goals learning. We're talking about a great campaign that applies intersectoral cooperation in order to reach the goal in common. In conclusion, NGOs are indisputably a key piece of the jigsaw puzzle. And you may be asking, why am I talking about pieces and jigsaws? Well, because after reading the opinions of experts, I can easily relate jigsaws with achieving sustainable development, or in this case, achieving education for sustainable development. Some authors mention this needed labor and call it intersectoral cooperation. In simpler words, this means teamwork, a team that is united by a goal in common or a shared mission. Well, the pieces that collaborate in ESD are NGOs and other organizations, education for sustainable development experts, all education sectors, and all kinds of agendas, programs, or initiatives, as Agenda 2030, how I mentioned before. And many more pieces can be added. We have the excellent example, the one of the campaign, the world's largest lesson, that proves the goals can be achieved in group and in a general agreement. Bibliographic references. Thank you very much for your attention.